Are you ready to battle, Dan? And not just battle, double battle. Because, Pokemon, get it, Pokeball and Rocket Ball, which I probably should have worn with my Team Rocket shirt. But I had a brain fart and didn't think about it. But yeah, double battle, Pokemon, pretty intense. Hey guys, it's Morgan Strong Comic here. And I'm really excited for us to be in technically round 7 of the March Disney Villain Madness event that fellow author and I from Paper Crane Books, Dan Wright and I are doing on our blog, social medias, all that jazz, yada yada. And this is round 7. We did 6 single rounds with our team of Disney villains that we chose. We used a random simulator to kind of pair them up. And Dan and I just had so many villains we wanted to talk about, wanted to enjoy. So we had a list and we're like, no way this event lasts forever. For the first time in forever. No, we don't need to go on up and Frozen like that. But we still wanted to include as many as we could, so I suggested tag teams. And I don't know anything about wrestling, except I know who John Cena is, because I had a student who was obsessed with John Cena, and I know he sings. That's about all I know about WWE stuff. But anyway, so we're doing 2 tag team matches for round 7 and round 8. And I know you guys already voted for my awesome team for the first 6 rounds. I mean, Corella's my starter. I mean, that should explain anything right there. But we're going to do tag teams today. So we're doing 2 villains, 2 for the price of 1. And these baddies might need to be discounted. They're just that foul. They're that rotten. That over expiration date. Bad. I'm tired. I don't know what I'm saying. But anyway, let's get on to my first tag team, which is King Candy from Wreck-It Ralph and Syndrome from Pixar's Incredibles. And Syndrome is my only Pixar villain. Dan and I decided kind of to broaden into Pixar, although they are their own separate kind of company. They also do affiliate with Disney quite a bit. There's a whole big history lesson I want to get into, but I'm excited to introduce King Candy and Syndrome, and we're going to start with King Candy. King Candy is the ruler of the arcade game Sugar Rush in the film Wreck-It Ralph, which was 2013. Great movie. It's a candy racing game. I guess it's like Candy Crush with Hot Wheels. He's an excellent racer, but there's a really kind of mysterious reason for that, and if you don't like spoilers and you haven't seen Wreck-It Ralph, then I would turn off the film or recording or whatever, and you can read my notes and ignore this next part. But this part's pretty critical. His true identity is Turbo. Now, Turbo was this, I guess it'd be in the 80s, early 80s game, race car game, real basic, and it was real popular. When a newer game came along and, kids, new stuff, they started going to this new arcade game. Turbo got really jealous, and there's this inter-network of, electrical circuits that the games can kind of visit other games after hours, as long as they return to their normal game so the kids can enjoy them and, nothing suspicious. Now, Turbo intentionally went into this new game and made an appearance, and it freaked the kids out. And it freaked me out, too, especially, I guess, in the early 80s when games were kind of newish. So they tell the guy who runs the arcade, he thinks it's broken. Since Turbo's also not in his game, so something's malfunctioning, and they get unplugged. Unplugged is a term where the game is completely unplugged and the people or characters inside are forever lost. And because of Turbo's jealousy of not being adored anymore, he wrecked not only his game, but this new game. Like, all of the other racers and all the other people. It's just horrible. He decided the fate of 2 worlds just because he wanted to be adored. And I get everybody wants to be loved, but that's really horrible. It's just really selfish, in my opinion. He invades Sugar Rush then, which is currently, in 2013, kind of like the newest hyped racing game. Again, Candy Crush, like this. And he is the king. But this time, literally, the king of racing. And again, he's loved. However, in this new game, he also is just a D-bag and reprograms the game so everybody is brainwashed in a way, rewired, to thinking that Vanellope, is actually, she's actually, again, spoiler, she's actually the ruler of this game, but he kind of just, throws her aside, and it does some damage and turns her into a glitch. And game glitches aren't meant to exist, and she can't ever leave her game, which is very harmful, as you find out towards the end of the film. And she makes Vanellope not wanted by her, her other racers, and, he sends his guards after her. She can't make it to the racetrack, and it's horrible. And he convinces Ralph later, sugarcoating it, pun intended, that he should destroy Vanellope's car because it's best for her, because she shouldn't have dreams, because she's just going to get hurt. That's really low. I understand we want to protect kids, but he doesn't even care about her, and that's just a load of garbage. It's really messed up, in my opinion. It's not cool at all. King Candy, at the very end of the story, when he fuses with the Cybug, oh, it's horrifying. It's this big old, ugly, almost like a Beedrill thing with King Candy's maniacal head. It's bugly, and it's just bad. And it's a virus that starts destroying Sugar Rush. And it's all these really weird powers. It can turn into a big wheel. It's super strong. It can just knock out Ralph, and Ralph is pretty strong. And it flies and it claws things. It's terrifying. And although I would like that in my wrestling match, King Candy's a great racer, so he can zip around. He's obviously not afraid to get to his goal. He can kind of reprogram things if there's a technology battle. And if he can, kind of do Super Saiyan thing and become the Cybug King Candy, wow, then I think all bets are off and King Candy's going to win. It's a no-brainer. King Candy, his looks, even his lisp when he speaks, and his voice actor is inspired by the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland. And I thought that was really cool. I did see some visual similarities, and I didn't notice the lisp, but I didn't realize that the voice actor was hired to kind of be inspired off the Mad Hatter. And the Mad Hatter is, well, he's mad. He's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But he's not evil, but still, to be based on an iconic Disney character who has an insanity term in his name is pretty intense. And then you make him a baddie like King Candy, and that's just, it's just wow, in my opinion. It's very unstable, and I think that would be really intense in a wrestling match. Personally, and this is a personal note, I didn't realize that Turbo and King Candy were the same person. Originally, they weren't supposed to be. They were supposed to be two separate things. And I think it was a big reveal for me because my husband and I are pretty good at guessing, secret little hidden shockers in shows and books and movies and such. He's better at it than I am, but King Candy and the Turbo thing just completely threw us because the hints are very, very, very subtle. You don't really consider them. So, for me personally, I think that's why he's a baddie, because he completely floored me. A lot of villains in Disney films tend to be semi-predictable, and that reveal was not predictable in the least for me. Although, I need to give myself a little pat on the back. I was the only one in my family when we first saw Frozen originally. My husband was there. That knew Hans was a baddie about almost right away. And Disney hardly gave you any implication of that. So, yay, I did one thing right with Disney. And although Hans is on Dan's team, and if you watch Dan's videos, it's not surprising. He's kind of a Hans fanboy. Don't hold it against him too much. Also, this is just a little fun note about King Candy. He throws candy. Have some candy. And he just, throws it around. And I'm sure kids love that. And I bet dentists, have little shrines worshiping King Candy because it gives dentists business. But I know he's probably, the devil incarnate to doctors, so if there's any doctors in the audience, I'm going to win. I'm going to watch it. I just hope there's not too many dentists. I don't need them lighting candles and singing All Hail King Candy. Well, actually, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, that would be pretty cool, since King Candy is fighting for me. That's King Candy, and he's teaming up this round with Syndrome from Pixar's The Incredibles. The Incredibles is a very intense film compared to, Toy Story and Finding Nemo and some of the other more lighthearted Disney films, but it's very, very well written, and I thoroughly enjoy The Incredibles. There's some scenes there that even I'm still kind of that's a little dark and deep for kids, but hey, what you gonna do? So Syndrome's story is a little bit sad, and you see his backstory instead of just, usually sometimes the villain tells it, but he starts out as a young boy named Buddy Pine, And he's this young kid who just idolizes Mr. Incredible. Mr. Incredible is like the Superman of this universe in Pixar. And he wants to be a sidekick. You know, gets in his car. He's like, "Hi, I'm your sidekick. I'm Buddy, blah, blah, blah." And first they'd be like, "Okay, kid, you're like breaking and entering. You need to get my car." And Mr. Incredible is, you know, kind of busy. He's fighting evil. He's on his way to his wedding. Things are pretty intense. But he's kind of mean to Buddy. And yeah, so Buddy doesn't give up, though. He's a very persistent little yipper snapper, you know, little kid. I was trying to quote Grandpa from Rugrats and it quite didn't work out. And he follows Mr. Incredible to this kind of not expected, I guess, side trip on his way to the altar to Elastigirl. And the kid comes in with these little like jet rocket boots, which is really awesome considering he made them at such a young age. But he's still not very used to him. He's all, you know, trying to be like a comic book hero. You know, "I am to save the day. Hold on, Mr. Incredible." And he ends up getting kidnapped. And it's like an exchange thing to save his life. Mr. Incredible gets mad. And he calls the police to take Buddy home. Basically, it's kind of squashing Buddy's dreams. Buddy just fumes and gets revenge. That's his goal for the rest of his life, which is very heavy. I mean, I think Mr. Incredible is being a responsible adult. Maybe he wasn't very nice about it, but I don't know. I'm just not a revenge-seeking person, I suppose. After the superheroes are seen as dangerous and they have to go into hiding, Buddy spends 15 years of his life after that experience designing the perfect revenge weapon to destroy Mr. Incredible. And the thing that really gets me, and this is what made me kind of say this movie's kind of dark, especially for, you know, I know Pixar isn't Disney, but the content for kids is usually pretty similar. He takes other superheroes that he finds, like tons of them, and he uses them as test subjects until he makes the weapon perfect. And when Mr. Incredible is going to the big computer and he unlocks it, and he's finding, you know, terminated. It breaks my heart every single time because I know what terminated means. I don't know if kids know, but I know what it means. And it's just really sad. And when the few times they do defeat the current one, he just makes a better one, and they just, you know, he tricks them again, and he keeps until they're gone. I mean, Mr. Incredible has to hide behind a corpse, you know, to not get sensed by his little drones, assuming that he's dead when he can go and you can kind of, you know, get off the island. It's horrible, and it's just sick. Betty, I know you were scarred, bud, but come on, it's intense. And he's actually the first Pixar villain to be labeled as a serial killer. Like, that's official. It's on the Disney Pixar website. Makes sense. He also has a really cruel bit of humor. I mean, this line's kind of funny because I'm an adult, but it's still kind of I guess, kind of on the border of sexual, if you think about it. And I like "You married Elastigirl?" And he looks at Violet and Dash, "and got busy." I think that movie came out when I was a freshman in high school, so I knew what that meant. Wink, wink, nod, nod. He's got some other cruel humors in there, too. Some innuendos. I'm just like, really? I mean, and he's not afraid to kill Violet and Dash at all. He doesn't see them as kids. That's horrible. It's just really wrong. And then he kidnaps little Jack Jack to, you know, be his villainous sidekick, you know, train him to be evil. I mean, I'm glad he didn't hurt Jack Jack. That's still really wrong. And I mean, it works out in the end for the Incredible family, but it's still pretty much. And he makes this whole ploy to endanger the city and then stop it so people will love him and praise him as a new superhero after he killed all the other superheroes. I mean, the citizens don't know that. That's just really, that's just wrong. It's just, like, corrupting a government, basically what he's doing. He's not even a super. But to make up for it, Syndrome has a genius intellect, which I think in the ring, again, the quick thinking thing I kind of did with Yzma, I think he'd be able to go beyond that. Plus he has his weapons, and of course he has his rocket power boots. You'd be good to go. And he invents things like his gauntlets. He can freeze people in place. That would be awesome in a match. I mean, just point, and they're like frozen, and then him and King Candy can like run over them in a car and do whatever they want with them. He's got bombs. He's got you know, the boots for flying. He can make vehicles. He makes energy-infused prisons that are strong enough to, you know, make Mr. Incredible not be able to break free of them, and he's super strong, and a whole bunch of other gadgets and gizmos and missiles and stuff. So, I mean, and that's part of his, like, the gauntlets are actually on his outfit, so he could bring those to the field, and they're usually, except for the vehicles and the missiles, are small gadgets he could put on his body. So that'd be great for a match. He could just freeze people or fly away. as long as he stays in the perimeter of the ring, of course. King Candy could just run over people or, give them cavities until they cry. Because cavities hurt. Cavities hurt, man. Yeah. And of course, if he does the side bug, it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong. And then I always thought the name syndrome, syndrome is a medical term for having traits and symptoms of a certain illness. And to me, I was wondering, is he trying to reach out and say, my obsession because my hero broke my heart is almost like a syndrome? You can see it on me. But that's really deep. I never quite understood that. I was a little offended, actually, when I was a kid, because I have friends, and I work with special education kids, that have various syndromes. So I never quite understood that. But now I'm kind of thinking on a philosophical note. So maybe there's some meaning in that. Or maybe just, it was a cool name. I don't know. Big ol' S is pretty neat. I think that's pretty neat. And there's this scene, I don't know if it's in the bloopers or deleted scenes. I remember some of the Incredible DVDs that my brother and I had when we were growing up. And it's not fully animated. It's animated, but it's kind of like stills moving, like one of those flip books. And it's him, like, it looks like he's trying to kiss, I think Mirage is her name, his kind of agent that he uses so he hides in the background. He's the maniacal super genius that he is. And he's like licking her face, and just the looks, it's really inappropriate. And I think it's another reason I'm like, this is not for kids, and it's disgusting. If you ever see that, it's gross. It's gonna, like, gorge your eyes out. It's horrible. And my favorite part for the wrestling match with Syndrome is he's already got the outfit. Come on. He looks like a wrestler. He's got the mask. He's got the cape. Although I know Miss Edna Mold would be no cape, but he didn't listen, so. Oh well. But he's got that. He's got the big old S, and he's got the tights and the gauntlets, and he's just raring to go. So, yeah, he wouldn't take any time to get dressed. His attire. So, that's King Candy and Syndrome, the overly sweet, run over you, and then freeze you with plasma and missiles duo. And I think they're going to take down Dan's team. I know in one of these rounds he has, Snow White's stepmother, and I think Maleficent's on one of his tag teams. He's got some pretty well-known baddies, but I've got some pretty modern 2000s hardcore baddies that they're ready to battle. These gentlemen are they're going to make you eat your words. I'm just saying. Alright guys, go ahead and vote in the polls, please, for round 7. This is our tag team, and vote for my team, King Candy / Turbo, I suppose. Turbo, I was being shipped in the Turbo for Power Rangers. And, Turbo, and, of course, Syndrome. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me. And we got one more round, another tag team, before Dan and I get to do our Final Four with the bracket system for March Madness. And then we're going to be doing recordings for the Final Four and Final 2 until we crown our baddest of the bad Disney villain champ. It's going to be something on my team. Like I said, I get to freeze you with some kind of gauntlet grenade thing, and then I get to run over you with a candy car. Gumdrops hurt, man. Take that, Dan. Get a gumdrop in your face. And you're going to freeze. And then all the doctors will be there to help you. But that's okay, because I'll still win. Alright guys, see you for round 8. Sayonara.